We are lucky in Ann Arbor to have so many parks and natural areas where you can be outside and appreciate nature. Maybe you've witnessed a great blue heron taking flight, experienced a blossoming prairie, or enjoyed a trip down the Huron in a canoe. The types of animals and plants in these areas may be different, but the ecosystem we all share needs fire to survive. This program will explain why and how the City of Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation Department utilizes fire to help keep Ann Arbor's ecosystems healthy. Natural areas in Ann Arbor City Parks are cared for by a division of the Parks and Recreation Department called Natural Area Preservation, or NAP. NAP's mission is to protect and restore Ann Arbor's natural areas and to foster an environmental ethic within the community. The City of Ann Arbor has over 160 parks with 2,200 acres of parkland. 1,400 acres are designated as natural areas, highlighted on the map in purple. Everyday natural area preservation staff work across the park system, stewarding the city's natural resources, thoroughly removing invasive species, planting native plants, maintaining trails, and using prescribed fire. People and fire have been part of the Great Lakes ecosystem for millennia. The diverse natural landscapes we enjoy in the Ann Arbor area form with the influence of indigenous peoples' practices of burning. Prior to European colonization, the area we know as the City of Ann Arbor contained at least 8 types of natural communities. Fire-dependent forests, barrens, wetlands, and prairies existed along and around rivers, lakes, and streams. Access to a variety of habitats supplies a variety of resources, and indigenous people have been sustained by these natural communities for thousands of years through activities like hunting, foraging, fishing, and cultivation. To maintain this abundance, fire and burning are important stewardship practices of the Anishinaabe and other indigenous people of our region. In southeast Michigan and across the region, fire became suppressed and outlawed by European colonizers who did not see or understand the nature and culture of burning. Just as the use of fire shaped the landscape over millennia, the absence of fire brought rapid change to the land. The result of fire suppression can be seen in habitat loss. What once was open prairies, savannas, woodlands, and wetlands became crowded with shrub thickets and overshadowed by dense tree canopy. Fire suppression is a major contributor to the loss of many special species. Before being forcibly removed from the ancestral lands, indigenous people were regularly using fire across the Michigan landscape. Fire was used to clear land for strategic hunting. Burning could control the movement of herds, allow for better sight lines, and create a habitat for desired game species. Fire was used to regenerate the soil and to select for preferred plant species by stimulating their growth. Foraging and cultivation were supported by fire, which supplied food, culturally significant plants, and tool-making resources. Fire was also used to control insects like ticks, mosquitoes, black flies, and fleas, and manage pests like rodents and weevils that threatened food and resources. For Michigan's native peoples, ceremonial and other spiritual uses of fire go hand in hand with stewardship practices, and each nation, tribe, and clan has their own relationship with fire and the land. These cultural relationships support a healthy ecosystem that sustains the people. Ann Arbor's ecosystem is healthier and natural areas are more accessible because of fire. Because the land has managed with fire for so long, our native plants have evolved to rely on fire as part of their life cycle. For example, the cones of the jack pine don't open and release their seeds until they are burned, and acorns germinate more readily in areas that have recently seen fire. Following decades of Western fire suppression, indigenous knowledge of fire ecology and stewardship has helped return fire to the land more widely. And this powerful management tool continues to influence the restoration of natural areas around the region. Locations in Ann Arbor parks like the Savannah at Furstenberg Nature Area and the Hairpin Turn at Cedar Bend Nature Area were once overgrown with aggressive invasive shrubs like buckthorn and honeysuckle, with very few healthy native plants and almost nowhere for native wildlife to live. Thanks to the reintroduction of fire, these locations have transformed over the last few decades to be bursting with wildflowers and sedges, teeming with insects and birds, hosting amphibians and reptiles, and allowing park visitors to witness the beauty of biodiversity. The overarching goal of the city's controlled burn program is to improve the habitats in our parks and natural areas to benefit wildlife and people. The city utilizes fire to control woody vegetation and invasive plants. Too much duff and brush can choke out native plants, decreasing biodiversity and negatively impacting ecosystem health. Thickets of invasive shrubs make it hard for wildlife to move through the landscape and can reduce access, visibility, and the feeling of safety for park visitors. The city utilizes fire to help native plants grow better. Fire can eliminate thatch, blacken and warm the soil, and recycle nutrients, which stimulates growth. Burning can help with insect pests. One amazing public health benefit of regular burning is that it can help keep tick populations under some control. To effectively conduct controlled burns in Ann Arbor's urban landscape, safety is of the utmost importance. Safety considerations begin months before any fire is put on the ground and continue throughout and beyond every burn season. The city's Parks and Recreation Department employs staff who are trained and experienced fire practitioners to lead controlled burns. As part of their job duties, these staff stay informed on fire ecology and participate in regional collaborations regarding fire and prescribed burning to keep their knowledge and skills current. The city maintains relationships with the fire department and other public safety agencies. Permits are approved by the fire department for each burn location before each burn season. The city prepares the community for the possibility of a controlled burn near them. As burn season approaches, signs are posted around the parks where a burn might occur that season, and postcards are sent to people who live near those parks. The city's trained burn staff spend a lot of time using principles of fire science and their understanding of the parks to create a written document called a burn prescription, specific to each park. Each burn season, there's a new list of parks with potential burn units that could have days where the weather will be right for a successful, safe burn. Only areas that will benefit from fire are considered in the planning process. If the location is burned, will it increase biodiversity? Will it create a travel corridor for wildlife? Will it create or sustain habitat for a threatened or endangered species? The city considers wildlife when planning and conducting burns. City biologists and burn staff are knowledgeable about wildlife and how their activities and movements in the parks change across the seasons. Just like the plants, the animals in our area evolved with fire and adapt so their species would survive, which means they know what to do when there is a fire nearby. Burn crews allow for patchy burns, which keep some areas unburned so wildlife can escape or wait out a fire. Weather conditions guide burn day decisions. During burn season, the weather is tracked daily to take advantage of the best window for controlled burning. It must be Goldilocks conditions to have a safe and effective burn. Dry but not too dry, windy but not too windy, not too cold, not too hot. The weather has to be just right. Burn days and burn seasons are chosen carefully with the health and safety of the public in mind. Burns are limited to spring, late summer, and fall when the condition of the leaf litter, grasses, and other combustible plant materials generate the least amount of smoke possible. Trained burn staff use tools like smoke modeling to show how smoke will act at a particular park under the predicted weather conditions. This modeling helps rule out locations where smoke might blow toward a hospital or other building with sensitive people inside. Burns are planned to avoid areas that would put a hazardous amount of smoke on a road. Burns are never conducted on days with poor air quality. The city and township fire departments and police dispatch are contacted the morning of a burn. Anyone who might be affected by the smoke is called directly. This may include individuals nearby who have requested a call, and school or medical buildings that might end up with smoke nearby. City council and local press receive a press release as well. As the morning progresses, you might start to see road signs in the area of a controlled burn. Crews spend the morning carefully preparing the burn unit to contain and safely direct the fire. Burn breaks are made using leaf blowers, rakes, and sometimes water. Extra care is spent preparing a burn site to avoid hazards like utility poles and other man-made objects. When all conditions have been met for a burn to be safely conducted, final preparations begin. A burn boss is designated to lead the burn. These trained and experienced staff are the city's prescribed fire experts who direct all aspects of a burn day. They're familiar with the locations to be burned and the goals for burning each site. The burn boss briefs the crew before starting the burn. They create a map of the burn units and explain how each unit will be approached. Who lights the fire, what direction to move, how quickly or slowly to move, and other specifics. Crew wear gear made of special fabrics that is flame resistant and will not melt, drip, or catch fire. Fire helmets are required to protect from head injuries and feature face shields and gaiters to protect the burn crew's faces. The burn boss stays in contact with the fire department. They call the fire department when the fire has been lit and again when the fire is completely out at the end of the day. The fire department will know to contact the burn boss if they receive any concerns from the public. The burn boss uses established techniques to keep the fire contained and under control. Fire science and knowledge of fire behavior are used to determine the spot where the fire will be lit. The ignition location and timing, as well as the ignition patterns used over the course of a burn, directly affect the direction and intensity of the flames as they move through the burn unit. Only small areas are burned at a time. This technique minimizes smoke output while also keeping the fire a manageable size. The burn boss stays in regular contact with the burn crew. They direct all crew movement and crew members report back on the fire's behavior. Smoke is monitored closely for the duration of each burn. You might see a city vehicle with orange signs on the side. This is the smoke monitor driving along the roads around the burn site. They give regular reports to the burn boss, relaying information about smoke behavior and weather conditions, so changes can be made to the burn in real time if necessary. The burn boss decides when active burning is done. Typically, the actual fire only lasts a few hours at most. If conditions have changed, if it is no longer safe to burn, or if the fire is not having the desired results, the burn boss will shut down the fire as soon as possible. The fire is completely extinguished before leaving the burn unit. At the end of active burning, the burn boss directs the burn crew to begin mop-up, a process where everyone meticulously combs the burn unit until it's cold, meaning that no fire, embers, or smoke remain. Burn crews typically spend more time mopping up than they do lighting the fire itself. The burn boss assigns follow-up tasks. Crews will post signs around the burn unit that explain to curious park visitors what happened. Depending on the type of burn site, crews or volunteers may return to spread native plant seeds in the recently burned area. The reintroduction and continuation of the fires that shaped our landscape has played an integral role in restoring natural communities within Ann Arbor's parks. The city's Parks and Recreation Department plans to continue a cycle of stewardship activities that includes regular controlled burning. The community can expect to see controlled burn signage around town, a postcard in the mail if they live near a planned burn site, and maybe even a bit of smoke rising over the Huron River. If you're curious about controlled burns or how our staff plans and conducts burns, check out the Parks and Recreation Department's website, or you can contact Natural Area Preservation by emailing nap@a2gov.org or call 734-794-6627.